This might be a little early to talk about the changes that are coming in December's patch. I mean, we haven't even gotten the wipe that's supposed to be in August, so it's definitely early. But that isn't going to stop me from having this conversation. On the last Tarkov TV podcast that was streamed a couple weeks ago, Nikita showed off some changes that are coming not only this month, but down the road at the end of the year. It's the first time we've ever had this much of a heads up for upcoming content, features, and changes. And probably the two biggest changes that are coming in December are the supposed recoil changes, which we'll be talking about in a future video, so subscribe if you want to see that one, and the armor hitbox changes for all the armors in the game. This is something a lot of people know is a big deal, but others don't know how massive of a game change this will actually end up being. Alongside inertia, the hitbox changes might be the single largest shakeup to Tarkov we have ever seen in this game's history thus far. And there is one category of weapon that might stand supreme at the end of it. Armor is complicated with how they absorb damage, we all know this, but where the armor protects you is a much easier mechanic to understand, at least right now. Depending on where the armor says it has protection, you will have coverage for those body parts. If it says thorax, then not only is your chest, but your neck, shoulders, rib cage, all of your back, it's all covered. It's basically a big square that covers you up. Even in something like a slick that has a lot of exposed parts to the body, they're still covered up right now because the hitboxes are so uniform and all-encompassing. It's much simpler than what we saw on that live stream. In December, things are going to be drastically different. So, if we use the slick once more as the example, even though that armor covers your thorax, the protection will only be where the plates of the armor actually are, which is center of mass, covering your torso. So now what can happen is that even though you have this big, beefy level 6 armor on, you are not as safe as you once were. Even a shot right above the chest, under the chin, can now kill you in a single shot. That area of the body is not safe anymore. Neither are your rib cages. These areas are now seriously exposed while wearing something like a slick when these armor changes go into effect. Now, of course, there are other armors in the game. While not the same class of protection, the areas they cover can sometimes be more effective than even the toppiest of top-tier armors. The meta will certainly change in terms of what people decide to run, where they want the protection, and how much protection they actually want. When this change comes around, armors that have neck and arm protections are more likely going to be more enticing for players who want to have as few body parts exposed as possible. However, one weapon class might throw a massive wrench in that entire equation. I'm going to go out on a limb right now and say that shotguns, when the December patch and wipe rolls out, are going to become very prevalent in the game, even more so than they already are. I don't know why, but seeing that one clip in their reveal video of the PMC wearing the trooper armor and getting smoked out by that shotgun leads me to believe that these weapons will be the go-to backup weapons for many players running normal rifles or SMGs. Because yes, while you only need a PACA to stop most ammo types for shotguns, with the two glaring exceptions being AP-20s and flechette ammo, having more of the body susceptible to a volley of buckshot being sprayed at you means even just one of those pellets can become problematic should it hit the wrong body part at the worst time. I imagine, or I guess I should say hope, that BSG might have the foresight to see this coming and adjust shotgun availability and the prices of ammunition, because Magnum sits currently at only 66 rubles per shot. Granted, you only can purchase 60 at a time per reset, but a stack of 20, split in half, with the other half in your secure container, is usually more than enough for a raid, especially on a budget. And the sheer number of options for buckshot, and even slugs on offer in the game, means that even if you can't get Magnum, Express, or just normal 7mm buckshot will do just fine. And shotguns are particularly interesting because they require barely any extra modifications to make them work, and work well. The only thing people might immediately change is the tube size for those weapons that rely on it. The Saiga 12 could also become popular because its fire rate is so high. Even with just a 5-round magazine, you can spray that weapon insanely quickly if you want to. And again, depending on what your opponent is wearing, you'll only need 1 or 2 of those pellets to hit and kill them. It's all going to create an interesting dynamic between which weapons and armors begin to see the spotlight in Tarkov post-December wipe. I think it's important to, once more, again, just emphasize how big of a deal this one change is actually going to be. If all the parts are implemented correctly, and things work as intended, because unfortunately the caveat needs to be said, this will be the single largest gameplay shift in Tarkov's history to date. I mean, for a while, way back in the day, player faces didn't even have a hitbox, so center of mass was the way to play for taking out other people. And then the head became the go-to spot to land your shots once they implemented the hitbox, and that was also a massive deal. But the game was in its infancy at that time, so it kind of got swept under the rug. And then the mag loading got added, and people thought it would ruin the game. And then healing animations got introduced, and people thought that would ruin the game. But all of these things, all they've done is make the game better. Could they be improved upon? Of course, which is why selective healing is being added, so we don't have to always hit the tab button every time we want to do something. But each time a massive gameplay mechanic is added, people usually go to worst case scenario, and I honestly see why. BSG does not have the best track record when it comes to stuff like this, and I know I'll be jinxing it just by saying it out loud, so knock on wood, but it finally feels like they have the direction they want to take Tarkov, and can deliver on that in a somewhat timely manner, which is the first for the game if I'm being honest. But out of all the big overhauls that they've added into Tarkov, this one will be the biggest so far, and it's not even close. I stress on that "so far" part, because the final edition that could even topple this is of course open world. But after that last livestream, my hopes of that becoming a reality are very low. Either way, armor hitboxes getting more accurate is really going to shake up the game. SMGs are scarier, shotguns are most likely going to be terrifying, and who knows, maybe leg meta will quickly evolve into just overall flesh ammo meta, where rounds like SP7, 9mm Luger CCI, and 5.56 Warmageddon can be viable in Tarkov consistently and not just in a niche way to play. But what are your thoughts on the potential meta shift that comes with better armor hitboxes? Let me know down in the comments below, and subscribe for more videos going over the 2 future patches when they're in the game and my general thoughts about them. I hope to see you in future ones.